Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on Mitv. I am Victor Daniels. In the news, Vice President Kashim Shettima has launched the Southeast Vision 2050, a 25-year development blueprint aimed at transforming the region into a major economic hub. Speaking at the Southeast Vision 2050 Regional Stakeholders Forum in Enugu, the Vice President announced President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's approval of the Southeast Investment Company Limited. The new company will mobilize funds from the diaspora, capital markets, and development finance institutions to support infrastructure and industrial growth in the region. Shettima said the initiative marks a shift from short-term governance to long-term planning, noting that the Southeast entrepreneurial strength and global diaspora make it essential to Nigeria's economic future. He explained the investment company will work alongside the Southeast Development Commission to close the infrastructure gaps and boost competitiveness. The Vice President stressed that the Commission is a delivery-focused institution aimed at job creation, productivity, and sustainable growth, while assuring the youth that development must translate into a real improvement in daily life. The governors of the Southeast states unanimously endorsed the Vision 2050 plan. Development partners, including the United Nations Development Programme, the federal ministers, traditional leaders, private sector representatives, and Ohanese Indigo also pledged support for the initiative.
The Southeast has long occupied a distinctive place in Nigeria's industrial and commercial imagination. It is a region defined not only by memory, but by motion. It is shaped by industry, resilience, ingenuity, and enterprise. Across generations, the good people of the Southeast have shown an uncommon ability to create value where others see impossibilities, to innovate under pressure, and to compete with competence far beyond their immediate environment. It is therefore no surprise that we gather here today to witness a region preparing itself for a changing world, one increasingly defined not only by the strength of ideas, but by the power of invention. I commend the Southeast Development Commission, the Federal Ministry of Regional Development, the governments of the 5 Southeast states, and all our partners for convening this important gathering. This forum reflects foresight, responsibility, and a shared understanding that the future is not something we wait for, but something we must deliberately design. I am also mindful that this meeting is taking place at a moment of mixed emotions.
50 regional stakeholders forum. Indeed, coming barely 1 week after the signing of the concessioning agreement of the Akano Ibiam International Airport. And I think it's important to put this in context because this is quite significant. We are here to talk about regional development. And one of the key enablers of regional development is access, movement. And my colleague from Anambra had said so much about the importance of building a common market or a unified market, which, by the way, is what I've been asked to do here today, to reimagine Southeast as a unified economic bloc. So you would understand that because I've been asked to provoke our thoughts, to interrogate the status quo, to interrogate the way we have planned, the way we have dedication to this project, and for honoring us with its esteemed presence at this epoch-making event. I also want to acknowledge the generous commitments of my colleagues in the Southeast Governors Forum to the success of this grand initiative, which has been put together to bring relevant stakeholders to the table as we collectively set a new 50-year development trajectory for our region. It is fulfilling to observe that this project has secured the buy-in of major players in the public and private sectors in the zone. I'm also impressed that community and religious leaders, centers of learning and development partners are getting involved in the development conversations that efforts like this have engendered. This event, by the quality of debates and interest it has raised over the last few weeks, is already a success. And the reason is simple. The Southeast Vision 2050 has awoken a new consciousness among the different social and economic players in the region. Expectedly, the conversation has rightly shifted from the mundane to the sublime. It is no longer about the glory of individual states and communities, but the destiny of the collective. It is interesting to see that after a long run of missed opportunities, we are now turning our attention to the untapped potential that are bound in the region, and how we can begin to leverage the immense human and material resources across the land to create oceans of opportunities for our people. Naturally, we are an itinerant population. You will find our people all over the world doing great things, adding value to systems that embrace their ingenuity. The truth, however, is that we do not travel around the world for the fun of it. We are driven by the promise of new opportunities, the thrill of beating the odds, and the fulfillment that comes from going the whole distance to win. What we hope to achieve with this event and the engagements to follow is to create new streams of opportunities in the region for our army of young graduates, thinkers and innovators, skilled technicians, and the thousands of young people who troop out of this land every day in search of meaning. From where I stand, this program is connected to the evolution of the contemporary economic layouts on account of its orientation. But there is more. We have gathered to establish a pattern of engagement that will henceforth drive investment decisions by public and private sector economic agents. The aspiration is to return us to the trajectory set by the vision of our fathers like Dr. Michael Obara and others who had the foresight to build structures and systems that have survived the passage of time and the evolution of technology.
And as a starting point, my answer, short answer, is that technocrats often mistakenly believe that you can take politics out of policy. You plan for everybody an invariant to political cycles, and then you come back and say they didn't sustain that. That was lack of continuity. And let me say, Mark and your colleagues, that it is easier to build regional consensus about regional, physical, and infrastructure planning than policies. We all have ours, and I would dare to say that every government, even when the change is within the same political party, you will find wide variations.
And to me this afternoon advances a regional development strategy anchored on agriculture and solid mineral as twin drivers of value-added industrialization. Drawing on development economics, regional integration theory, and empirical lessons from the inter-industrializing economies. This address argues that Southeast can achieve food security, employment generation, and export competitiveness by raising productivity, deepening value chains, investing in shared infrastructure and energy, building skill and innovation systems, and mobilizing patient capital through public and private partnership. The address also proposes actionable policy instruments, institutional arrangement, and safeguard for sustainable and inclusion under the
solutions. What makes this process different is not ambition, but method and approach. This is not a consultant-led policy exercise produced behind closed doors. It is a co-authored framework shaped by state governments, their long-term plans, the private sector, professionals, the diaspora, and the development partners. And unlike past efforts, it is tied to institutions. The SCDC will play a role from region-wide infrastructure delivery in strong collaboration with the state governors, Southeast Investment Company for capital mobilization, and also to establish a clear pathway for ideas, to move ideas from ideas to bankable region-wide projects.
The federal government has launched Nigeria's national halal economy strategy aimed at positioning the country to tap into the $7.7 trillion global halal market and unlock an estimated $12 billion in economic value. President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, unveiled the strategy at the presidential villa in Abuja, describing it as a major step towards economic diversification, job creation, and increased exports. The Vice President said the strategy is expected to add about $1.5 billion to Nigerians' GDP by 2027, with clear targets to expand the halal food export.
Across the world, this is $1 trillion economy. Nigeria has the opportunity to leverage our non-oil exports under the renewed hope agenda of